Akira is an ugly, degenerate loser who tasted the drool of the school's freakiest girl. However, everything changes when it makes him obsessed with her, so he decides to rizz her up so he can crack her and slurp more of her juices. It all starts at school, when a new student with bangs longer than a fat dude's lifespan, Mikoto, joins the class and is put to sit beside our freaky protagonist, Akira. At first, Akira doesn't think much about her, but within one day, he and the whole class see her as a weirdo when they find her sleeping all the time, refusing to make friends, and even suddenly laughing like a psycho in the middle of the class while the teacher is teaching about why gooning 3 times a day is the key to success. From then on, Mikoto spends her days alone, until one day, Akira finds her asleep after school, and when he wakes her up, she raises her head and locks eyes with Akira, who has never seen her face in full before. He tells her it's time to go home, so she goes, leaving behind Drool on her desk. Being a degenerate who is interested in what getting his cherry popped is like, he decides to put his finger in her drool and have a taste of her good soup. Before quickly realizing how creepy he was just now. That night, he can't stop thinking about how pretty Mikoto really is, and he dreams about her and how he's dancing with her in a weird little town. From then on, Mikoto is always in his head, until one day in gym class, Akira gets sick and collapses due to fever. Back home, Akira's condition is getting worse when his mother says that a classmate is coming to visit, and to his surprise, it's Mikoto. She sits on his bed and explains that he doesn't have a cold, but instead, he has a withdrawal, the same way a drug user would have one. Then she asks him to be honest, and asks if he licked her drool. When he confesses that he did, Mikoto uses her finger to get some of her own drool and puts it in Akira's mouth, telling him to lick it. She then tells him to check his fever, and to Akira's surprise, he doesn't have it anymore. When she goes to leave, Akira asks how her drool can make him sick, suspecting that her drool is magical and gives the same effect as the magical white powder. Hearing that, Mikoto laughs out loud and assures him that her drool is not drugs, but instead, what Akira experienced is being lovesick, which surprises him. She continues that on the day he woke her up, he fell in love with her when he saw her face, and his body has been aching to taste more of the girl he loved since then. That leaves him bamboozled, and Mikoto leaves, saying that she hopes he comes back to school. Just like what she said, Akira is back to school and healthy, but after school, he finds her waiting for him and walks home with him. Before parting ways, she offers him more of her drool, and when asked why, she tells him that he needs it to avoid more withdrawal and fever, so Akira licks it. And she says that she hopes to see him every day. From then on, it becomes a daily routine for them to meet after school and drool it up, but slowly, Akira starts falling in love harder with her. The next day, on their daily routine, he tells her that he loves her and wants to be her boyfriend. To respond, Mikoto asks him to prove his love for her, and when he tries to do it by kissing her, she stops him, demanding that he do something that only he can do. She adds that she's willing to wait for him, and hearing that gives Akira an idea. From his wallet, he pulls out a picture of his long-standing crush, and he explains that he kept this picture for years just to remind him of how he had feelings for her. However, he says that after meeting Mikoto, he doesn't even remember that the picture exists, so to prove his love for Mikoto, he rips the picture to pieces and claims that from that day on, Mikoto is his girlfriend. Suddenly, Mikoto starts spewing out her saliva like it's her love juice, and explains that this always happens whenever she's really happy. She then asks him if he's a virgin, and when he admits that he is, Mikoto says that she's the same and tells him that from the first day she sat next to him, a voice kept telling her that Akira would be the man who pops her cherry. And from then on, she has been hoping that he would fall for her. Now that it's real, she walks home, happy they are lovers. A month later, in class, Akira and his gooner friends are grading girls based on how much they want to crack their cheeks. But Akira is fully focused on Mikoto, and while the others say that her cheeks are dry cause she's a weirdo, Akira personally would have given her 1,000 points. During recess, his buddy, Wino, points out that the back of triceps feels like a girl's melons. And when Akira touches it himself, he starts imagining Mikoto and how creamy her melons must feel.
Sussy baka.
Then, Akira asks Ueno for advice on what a boyfriend and girlfriend should do first in their relationship. When Ueno mentions hand-holding, Akira gets excited and rushes to see Mikoto. Later on the way home, Akira tries to grab Mikoto's hand, but she pulls away, and when asked why, she says there are no reasons for them to hold hands. That hurts Akira, who realizes that after a month of dating, they haven't done anything a couple would except for their daily dose of drool locking of Mikoto's hand, which she never forgets to do. The next day, he asks for more advice from Ueno, who starts suspecting that Akira has found himself a girlfriend, which he quickly rebukes. Akira asks what he should do before holding hands, and Ueno says that he should start by talking to her more, by asking about her hobbies and who she thinks would win between Yamcha and Gojo. Following his advice, he asks Mikoto what her hobbies are after school, and Akira fully expects her to say playing Barbie dolls or simping over plastic-faced Korean men. But to his surprise, she says her hobbies are scissors.
Bombastic side-eye.
When asked to demonstrate, Mikoto gives him a sheet of cloth, and from under her skirt, she pulls out scissors that she has strapped to her plot protectors and cuts the cloth into the shape of flowers. He asks if it's okay for her to flash him her white galore like that, but she assures him that she feels okay as long as he's the one looking, leaving him blushing. That night, Akira has another dream, but this time it revolved around scissors and Mikoto, leaving him more confused. So that day, he asks Ueno for more advice, and Ueno gets even more suspicious, but decides to brush it off. He tells Akira he should work on his greeting, which confuses him and makes him realize that Ueno is just a loser without a baddie.
Only language you speak is failure!
Then, when he tries to think more about it, it only confuses him more, realizing the girl he's dating is someone who keeps her scissors on her white galore. After school, he goes home with Mikoto like usual, and when it's time to drink her drool, she asks him to open his mouth, and she puts the candy she's eating in it. When she's about to walk away, Akira hugs her from behind, but she quickly jumps and uses her scissors, almost cutting him, but only cutting the boxes behind him. She tells him never to hold her without permission ever again before leaving, and while Akira understands, he feels even more depressed with the state of their relationship. The next day, Ueno pops up and hands him some movie tickets, saying that while he wanted to watch it with him, he decided to watch it earlier and now gives the tickets to Akira for free. Akira imagines Mikoto being happy going on a movie date with him, but when he asks her later, she rejects going to the movies with him, saying she's busy. Mikoto then offers him her drool like usual, but finds him on the floor, fully depressed after being rejected. When she asks what's wrong, he explains how he feels like they're not a true couple, seeing how they don't do what usual couples do. However, she disagrees and says that they have a bond that they share in the form of her drool, but seeing that he needs more from her, she decides to prove her love for him. She then takes him to somewhere secluded, sits him down, and tells him to close his eyes until she's done, proving her love for him. Mikoto makes him drink more of her drool, but this time it feels stronger, making his heart beat faster than ever before, and his nose is bleeding, which confuses him. She explains that it's because her heart was also beating hard when she gave him the drool, which is proof of their bond, and when asked why her heart is beating fast, she says she's doing something special for him. Afterward, they walk home, and Akira asks what she would have done if he had opened his eyes. As a response, Mikoto suddenly pulls her scissors and attacks Akira, only resulting in his notebook being cut, which makes him glad that he kept his eyes closed. That night, Akira dreams of Mikoto again, but this time, she presents herself to him fully with a doll on her head, and they crack till the mattress breaks. The next day, she notices him blushing, and when asked why, Akira refuses to answer. However, she swiftly grabs his drool, and when she tastes it, her nose starts bleeding. Akira is confused about what's going on, and she tells him that he's free to do whatever he wants in his dream, but says that she would never put a doll on her head, signaling that she knows what he dreamed about. When he tries to ask her for more information, she runs away, refusing to tell him anything. Days later, Akira finishes his cleaning duties, and when he walks back into his class, he is shocked to see his fellow wimpy buddy, Ueno, tongue deep in a chick.
You sussy baka!
Ueno suddenly notices Akira standing in the doorway, and he quickly runs over and nervously asks if Akira saw anything. Akira admits that he saw everything and asks if he and the girl, Oka, are dating. Ueno confesses that they have actually been together since their first year, and he begs Akira to keep their relationship a secret. The next day, Akira can't stop thinking about what he witnessed, and it surprises him that no one at school knows Ueno and Oka were making out in the classroom, let alone dating. However, he realizes something similar applies to him and Mikoto, and that no one knows about them either. His thoughts drift to Mikoto's lips, and he starts wondering what kissing her might feel like.
Bombastic side-eye.
After school, Akira walks home with Mikoto, and suddenly, she stops and says she wants to spend some time at the park. Akira agrees, and once they sit down, Mikoto explains that she wants to do homework together. While studying, Akira brings up how he walked in on Ueno and Oka kissing, but when Mikoto barely reacts, he feels a little disappointed by her lack of interest.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
But then, out of nowhere, Mikoto asks if he wants to kiss her. Akira is completely caught off guard, but eventually admits that he does want to kiss her. Instead of leaning closer, Mikoto pulls out a small test tube from her bag and tells him to hold it. She suddenly moves like a Power Ranger transformation and stops with her face flustered before asking Akira to hand the tube back. She then fills the tube with her saliva and tells Akira to drink it before going to sleep. That night, Akira goes to bed early, informing his sister not to bother him with anything more. Then, in bed, Akira opens the vial filled with Mikoto's love juice and drinks it as Mikoto told him to. He notices it tastes strangely sweet, and when he sleeps, he dreams about seeing Mikoto eating a candy and offering some to him. When he accepts, Mikoto gives her candy to him through mouth-to-mouth, shocking him. He shyly asks if that counts as their first kiss, and Mikoto believes that it is. But Akira argues that their real first kiss should happen when they both are overwhelmed with feelings. The next day, after school, the two walk home together again, and Akira tells her that he did what she asked and that he had a weird dream involving her. Hearing that, Mikoto asks him to follow her to the park, and when they reach somewhere no one can see them, she asks once more if he wants to kiss. At first, Akira gets tempted to go full tongue twister with her, but he quickly coughs and says that they should wait until they better understand their feelings. Mikoto smiles sweetly and agrees, making Akira blush. The next day in class, Akira notices Mikoto doing circus tricks with her pencil, and wanting to understand her better, he tries copying it, but only ends up embarrassing himself and losing a lot of aura. After class, Akira notices their hot classmate, Ogata, staring at Mikoto, and before he can say anything, Ueno suddenly grabs him and starts yapping facts about how Krillin would be the strongest bald guy in the One Punch Man universe. While Akira is distracted, Ogata quietly follows Mikoto out of the classroom, where Ogata catches up to her and takes the trash bin from her hands, offering to help. As Mikoto turns to leave, he stops her and asks her to stay for a moment, so they can talk a bit more. While they walk together, Ogata admits he has wanted to talk to her for a long time, and he then bluntly asks her if she would be willing to go out with him. Later, Akira and Mikoto walk home together, and after seeing her get followed by a hot hunk, Akira tries to ask about Ogata, but Mikoto instead tells him to eat some of her saliva. After he does, she explains what happened earlier. She tells him that Ogata confessed and suggested they try dating, which surprises Akira. She says that Ogata thought that she was a mysterious baddie who probably looked like Margot Robbie under her bangs, which made him interested, but also said that it didn't have to be serious, and they could simply start by walking home together. Scared for his relationship, Akira asks what she told him in response, and Mikoto says that she told Ogata to wait until tomorrow before giving an answer. Hearing this, Akira immediately says he will go talk to Ogata and tell him that Mikoto already has him as her boyfriend. But Mikoto stops him and firmly tells him not to interfere in her personal matters. She then walks away, leaving Akira feeling upset. That night, Akira grows irritated as he thinks about the situation, and since Ogata is the class's token hot guy who all the chicks want to crack, Akira worries that Mikoto might actually choose him over Akira's loser existence. The next morning, Mikoto chooses to deliberately not wear plot covers to make her drool more potent for her destined lover. Then, during break, Ogata approaches Mikoto and asks for the answer he was promised. But instead of replying, Mikoto tells him to close his eyes. Confused but curious, Ogata does as she asks, thinking he's about to get a kiss, but Mikoto suddenly pushes a finger covered in her saliva into his mouth. Shocked, Ogata immediately questions her degenerately freaky behavior, but ignoring the complaint, Mikoto asks how he feels. Ogata says that he didn't feel anything, and hearing that, Mikoto bluntly tells him that he can never be her boyfriend. Later that day, Akira finally asks Mikoto what happened between them, and she calmly tells him that she rejected Ogata and that she doesn't like him. Relieved, he expresses how afraid he was that she might choose Ogata over him, but Mikoto tells him to close his eyes for his usual drool slushy. When he does so, she puts her saliva in his mouth, and when she sees that his nose starts bleeding, she realizes that he is the one. After this proof, Mikoto then hands him her plot cover and admits that she went the whole day without wearing them. Seeing his confusion, Mikoto explains that with the thrill of going commando, only the person she has bonded with would react, and while Ogata shows no reaction, Akira reacted fully. And because of that, she now believes that Akira is the only man she can bond with. She smiles at him with certainty that he's the one, and the two continue walking home together happily, while Akira secretly keeps the plot cover for his late-night gooning session. During lunch break the following day, everyone eats their homemade lunches, and Akira notices Ueno sitting nearby with a huge grin on his face while chomping on his food. Curious, he asks what he's so happy about, and Ueno eagerly explains that since summer is coming, the girls will start wearing their summer uniforms, which means he can get to see his girlfriend and all her curvy plots in their glory. Akira sighs and calls him simple-minded for getting so excited over something like that, but Ueno quickly fires back, saying Akira wouldn't understand because he doesn't have a girlfriend. Hearing that, Akira glances at Mikoto sleeping beside him and starts imagining what she might look like in her summer uniform, which makes him understand how Ueno might be feeling. At that moment, Ueno's baby mama, Oka, walks over and invites Mikoto to eat lunch with her. The entire class watches as Mikoto wakes up from her sleep and calmly refuses Oka's offer, saying that she never eats lunch and that Oka should never wake her up like that again. Instead of feeling offended, Oka simply asks if she can sit nearby and eat her own lunch, and Mikoto shrugs and tells her to do whatever she wants before drifting back to sleep. But then, while Oka is munching on her lunch, the smell of her food eventually wakes Mikoto up, and Mikoto comments that they smell good. Oka happily explains that she enjoys cooking and offers her a bite of her omelet, and when Mikoto takes a bite, the whole class watches in awe to see her enjoy it. Then, Oka offers Mikoto some more of her food, and when they see that she can actually enjoy food, they all look at Mikoto like she founded the wheel. Later that day, Akira asks Mikoto if something happened between her and Oka, and when Mikoto asks what he means, he reminds her about earlier when Oka was feeding her lunch. Mikoto explains that Oka simply asked if she could eat on her desk, and that was all. But hearing this, Akira admits he was actually happy to see other girls approaching her, considering that she hasn't made any girlfriends ever since she moved there. However, Mikoto responds bluntly that she doesn't need friends since she already has him as a boyfriend, and those words make Akira ridiculously happy. Mikoto then offers him some of her saliva as usual, letting him drink it, not knowing that someone is watching. That night, Akira dreams about Mikoto feeding him omelet, and just as they're about to get spicy, he suddenly wakes up. The next morning, Ueno eagerly waits for gym class, because he hopes to see his girlfriend wearing the sports uniform. However, the boys soon learn they will be doing indoor judo, while the girls will be doing a relay race. During it, Mikoto participates but ends up tripping and falling, scraping her knee badly. The teacher tells her to head to the infirmary, and Oka appears, explaining that she is part of the health committee and will escort her there. When they arrive at the nurse's office, they discover that no one is around, so Oka decides to treat Mikoto's injury herself and carefully bandages her knee. After finishing, Oka casually grabs a drink from the refrigerator and starts drinking it. Mikoto asks if it's allowed to take things from the infirmary, and Oka explains that she uses the fridge to store her own drinks since she works on the health committee. She offers Mikoto her drink, saying that she must be thirsty after the rally, and Mikoto accepts. Oka then drinks from it again and admits that she wants to be friends with Mikoto because she finds her interesting. But Mikoto immediately rejects the idea, saying she prefers to stay alone. Hearing that, Oka refuses to get discouraged and simply tells Mikoto that if she ever changes her mind, she would happily become friends with her. As Oka prepares to leave, Mikoto suddenly calls out to her and points at her knee, which is now bleeding the same way hers was earlier. Oka is confused about why she suddenly has the same wound. Without explaining, Mikoto stands up and cuts her own hand slightly. Then, she gets her drool on her finger before telling Oka to put it in her mouth. Although hesitant, Oka eventually does it, and Mikoto tells her to look at her hand again. It begins bleeding just like Mikoto's, and Mikoto explains to her that, based on her wounds, they are connected. Oka looks completely confused by the explanation, and Mikoto gently holds Oka's injured hand and apologizes for hurting her twice. Trying to stay positive, Oka suggests that maybe this strange connection is a sign they should become friends, but Mikoto still refuses, explaining that Oka isn't the only person with a connection to her. Curious, Oka steps closer and asks if she means Akira, surprising Mikoto. Oka then reveals that she saw them together the previous day while walking home and how he was drinking Mikoto's drool, and that moment is what made her curious about Mikoto in the first place. Now fascinated, Oka asks whether Akira's body reacts the same way after swallowing Mikoto's saliva, and Mikoto confirms it. She explains that her physical and emotional conditions can transfer to him, allowing them to understand each other without speaking. Oka becomes even more interested in her after hearing that, but Mikoto decides to leave, saying that while Oka might find her intriguing, she still doesn't want additional friends. Before going, she reminds Oka to take care of her wound. Later that day, Mikoto feeds Akira her saliva again, and suddenly, Akira winces in pain from his hand and knees, which causes Mikoto to immediately apologize. The next morning, Ueno tells Akira he plans to ask Oka to eat lunch with him. Akira is confused and reminds him that they are secretly dating, so that wouldn't make sense, but Ueno insists they can communicate telepathically because of their relationship. When lunch break begins, Ueno keeps staring at Oka from across the room, and around that time, Mikoto stands up, and Oka soon follows her out. In the hallway, Oka stops Mikoto on her tracks and asks her to taste her saliva, so she can understand why she wanted to befriend her. After tasting it, Mikoto is surprised by how sweet and tasty it is, saying that it's the sweetest she has ever tasted. Oka admits that she was imagining kissing Ueno right before she asked Mikoto to taste it, and that gave her the emotional thrill that Mikoto is now feeling. But seeing that Mikoto never tasted drool that's sweet, Oka realizes that Mikoto has never kissed Akira before. Mikoto stays silent, which makes Oka quickly change the subject. She pulls out a bento and explains that she accidentally prepared too much food, and she offers Mikoto to share. Before Mikoto can refuse, her stomach growls loudly. Embarrassed, she admits that she used to skip meals easily, but ever since she ate Oka's lunch, her body has been craving food. Oka happily suggests that they start eating together more often and says that even if they never become close friends, she still hopes they can get along. Meanwhile, Ueno is complaining to Akira about how much he wants to eat lunch with Oka. At that moment, the two boys suddenly notice Mikoto and Oka sitting together and sharing a meal. Watching them from a distance, Akira can't help thinking that his girlfriend remains as mysterious as ever. The following day, the boys have football practice, and their coach hopes to find someone talented enough to stand out and be the next Messi. But it quickly becomes clear that all of the students are plain old bums by the way they kick the ball. However, it turns out to be a scheme the boys made, as every time the ball goes out of bounds, it gives them a view of the girls' swimming class nearby. During Ueno's turn, he gets the chance to see his girl in a swimsuit, covering her wonderful plots and reporting back to the boys to tell them her weapon size to compare to the rest of the girls in class. Eventually, it becomes Akira's turn to retrieve the ball, and his mission is to judge Mikoto's weapons. But when he's about to kick the ball out of bounds, he sees Mikoto, and his heart begins racing. In his distraction, he trips over the ball and completely misses his chance to get a proper look, disappointing the rest of the homies. Later that afternoon, Mikoto is casually eating a popsicle when Akira asks whether that was her last swimming class of the season. Mikoto tells him there will still be a few more sessions after summer break. Then, when she finishes her popsicle, he stares at her tasty drool and accidentally drops his own popsicle. Then, they stop at a park, and Akira suddenly notices the faint scent of sweat from Mikoto after swimming, which strangely makes him more aware of her presence, and he starts sniffing. When he realizes she's staring at him with a cold expression, he quickly stops acting suspicious, and before she chops him up into pieces, rain suddenly begins pouring down. Since neither of them brought umbrellas, they run under a nearby tree for cover. Akira waits for the rain to ease up when Mikoto unexpectedly clings to him, and the moment makes him realize that the sudden rain might actually be helping his situation. Smelling her amazing scent from up close, he asks if she is wearing any perfume. But Mikoto says she isn't, and she explains that her smell is simply from the day's worth of sweat. She then licks her own sweat, and when she tastes how salty it is, it reminds her of the seawater and how she loves to go to the sea. She suddenly offers him to lick her sweat, and when he does, he can see her feelings in the form of her being happy at the sea. After seeing that, Akira gathers his courage and asks if she would like to go to the beach with him during summer break. After thinking for a moment, Mikoto smiles and agrees. However, when summer vacation begins, they didn't get to set a date for their beach date, and all they do is continue meeting regularly so Akira can drink the saliva she offers him. On several occasions, he tries to talk about the beach date, but each time Mikoto leaves soon after giving him the usual drool juice, leaving him frustrated. Eventually, Akira works up the courage to bring up the beach trip again, and since it's already summer break, he suggests they finally go. Mikoto tells him she is currently staying with her father, which initially disappoints him. However, she then adds that they can still go together the following week. After she leaves, Akira celebrates excitedly, and when he gets home, his sister immediately notices that he seems unusually happy. That night, Akira dreams about running along the beach with Mikoto, who is in her swimsuit, and it turns freaky when she turns into a mermaid. Then, the long-awaited day arrives, and Akira rushes to the train station where he sees Mikoto waiting for him. When she turns around to greet him, he notices that she did the reverse Michael Jackson with her tan, and Mikoto explains that she got sunburned because her father lives near the beach. Then, they board the train together, and Akira can't help staring at her new tan with fascination. After arriving at the beach, Mikoto goes to change while Akira looks around at the lively seaside atmosphere. When Mikoto finally returns wearing her swimsuit, Akira is instantly captivated by how she looks. Breaking the silence, Mikoto asks if he wants to grab something to eat first, and before he can respond, she leads him to a small shop where they get noodles. Akira overhears a couple where the man pays for the food, and he tries to do the same, but sees that Mikoto already paid for the food. When the noodles arrive, he sees her weird order of noodles with the side of red ginger, and gets curious. Seeing him, she offers him a bite, and when he tastes it, the noodles taste surprisingly good for him. After finishing their meal, they head back to the water to swim, and Akira quickly notices that Mikoto is an excellent swimmer by how she left him with ease. She tells him she has been swimming for most of her life, but she slows down so he can keep up with her. While swimming, Akira can't help but admire her figure, and is curious about her wearing a cloth to cover her peach cover. When she catches him staring, she explains that usually, she carries her scissors around during swimming, but after she got a tan, she needs the cloth to cover up the scissors-shaped tan line, which instantly causes Akira's nose to start bleeding. Later that day, the two take the train home together, and Mikoto happily says she had a lot of fun during the trip. Akira struggles to respond because he's still flustered from everything earlier, and curious about how he really feels, Mikoto decides to check by tasting his saliva. The moment she does, her nose begins to bleed as well, and Akira admits that he became so excited that his Slim Jim turned into Fat Johnny due to her tan line. To his surprise, Mikoto calmly asks if he wants to see it again. When he shyly admits that he does, she tells him he'll just have to wait until next year for another chance. With that, their eventful beach date comes to an end. A few days later, Akira goes out to do some shopping, and while browsing the book section, he suddenly runs into Oka, who cheerfully claims that fate must have brought them together. Since it happens to be the final day of summer break, she suggests they grab some ice cream. Akira hesitates, but Oka grabs his arm and insists that they might not get another chance to hang out like this. They eventually sit down at a small cafe with their ice cream, and while Oka chats energetically, Akira struggles to focus on the conversation because he keeps noticing how big her twin puppies are. Trying to stay casual, he tells her that if Ueno found out they were eating together alone, he might get upset. But Oka immediately laughs and says that whenever she spends time alone with Ueno, he is always complimenting Akira, saying that he's a good man, so he probably wouldn't mind them hanging out. However, Akira suddenly realizes something when he hears Oka call Ueno by his first name. Curious, he asks if they are already that close. Oka casually confirms it and jokingly says that, after everything they have done together, using first names is only natural. Hearing that makes Akira imagine Mikoto calling him by his own first name. The thought oddly leaves him feeling a little sad, because he doubts she would ever do that. Suddenly, Oka leans close and softly whispers Akira's name near his ear. The unexpected moment instantly makes him flustered. Confused, he asks what she is doing, and Oka simply tastes a bit of his ice cream and teasingly says that he must have been thinking about the girl he likes, calling him by his first name. The following day at school, Akira and Ueno are talking when Oka walks past them. Remembering yesterday, Akira asks Ueno if Oka mentioned anything about what happened the other day. Ueno says she didn't bring anything up and asks if something happened, but Akira quickly decides not to explain. Noticing Akira's tan, Ueno instead asks if he went to the beach recently, and Akira quickly lies, saying that he went with his sister, which causes Ueno to laugh and tease him for being single. Elsewhere during lunch, Oka is sitting with Mikoto, and she casually tells Mikoto that she happened to meet Akira the day before. That immediately catches Mikoto's attention, and Oka continues by explaining that they talked about using first names, and she suspects Akira would probably like Mikoto to call him that way. When Mikoto doesn't respond, Oka quickly tastes Mikoto's saliva and realizes that Mikoto also secretly wants Akira to call her by her name. After teasing Mikoto about it several times, Mikoto bluntly says it's none of her business and walks away. Watching her leave, Oka can't help thinking that Mikoto is cute. Later that afternoon, Akira and Mikoto walk home together, and Akira suggests they stop at the park for a short break. Mikoto agrees, and Akira volunteers to buy drinks for both of them. When he returns, he finds Mikoto already asleep on the bench, and seeing how peacefully she's sleeping in such an open place, Akira briefly thinks about how trusting she must be to fall asleep so easily in public. He tries to wake her up, but all his attempts fail as she remains completely asleep. While looking at her, his eyes drift toward her ear, giving him an idea, and after thinking a little, he softly calls her by her first name. The moment he says it, Mikoto suddenly wakes up. She smiles shyly and asks what's wrong. Flustered, Akira quickly hands her the drink and explains that he didn't want it getting warm while she slept. As they sit quietly together, Akira keeps remembering the smile she gave him when he called her name. Wanting to see that expression again, he tries to say her name once more, but loses his nerve when he notices her watching him. That night, Akira goes to sleep thinking about Mikoto's smile, and in his dream, he imagines taking a photograph of her and capturing that same beautiful expression. The next morning, he takes out a camera from his room, and later, he asks Mikoto if he can take a picture of her. She asks why he wants one, and Akira explains that since they are dating, he feels like he should at least have a photo of his girlfriend. After hearing that, Mikoto allows him to take pictures. As Akira prepares, he asks if she can smile for the photo, but Mikoto bluntly says there is no point in forcing a fake smile. Akira tries to negotiate, saying that he prefers her smiling in the picture, but Mikoto refuses and walks away. When he returns home that day, Akira keeps thinking about her response and feels slightly disappointed. The following day, Akira waits for Mikoto at their usual meeting spot, and he realizes that she's running late. While he is waiting, someone suddenly greets him, and it turns out to be his old crush, Hayakawa. She greets him and reminds him of how they used to be in the same class for 3 years, and how they once worked together on the student council. Akira becomes nervous and struggles to respond normally, but then Hayakawa asks if he would like to grab coffee so they can catch up. After thinking for a moment, Akira politely refuses, explaining that he is waiting for someone. Hayakawa understands and says they should hang out another time before leaving. Once she is gone, Akira suddenly notices Mikoto hiding, quietly watching from a distance. He asks why she was hiding there, and Mikoto calmly says that he looked like he was enjoying his conversation, so she didn't want to interrupt. As they begin walking home together, Akira notices that Mikoto seems unusually quiet. After a moment, she points out that Hayakawa is the same girl he had a crush on in the past, but Akira quickly says that it was a long time ago. Trying to understand her reaction, he asks if she would have been upset if he had gone for coffee with Hayakawa. Instead of answering directly, Mikoto gives him some of her saliva to drink, and almost immediately, Akira starts crying. Mikoto explains that if he had gone with Hayakawa, she wouldn't have been angry, but she would have felt devastated, knowing that he picked Hayakawa over her, and the tears he is experiencing represent those feelings. Hearing that, Akira sincerely tells her that although Hayakawa is still very beautiful, she is nowhere near as beautiful as the girl he is truly in love with. A small smile appears on Mikoto's face, making Akira's heart race. Gathering his courage, he asks if he can take a picture of her smiling like that so he can keep it forever. Mikoto sweetly agrees, but when he finally takes the photo, she suddenly makes a silly expression instead of smiling normally. Akira complains about it, but when he looks at it, he decides to keep it. He puts it in his wallet and says that he will treasure it no matter what, making Mikoto bust out saliva out of happiness. The next day at school, Mikoto takes part in a running race during practice and ends up competing against Yajima, the fastest runner in their class. Oka cheers loudly from the side like she always does. After the run, Yajima jokes that it's unfair that Mikoto can keep up with her even without serious training. Impressed by her speed, she invites Mikoto to join the track club, but Mikoto declines without hesitation. Instead, Yajima asks her to at least promise she'll run in the relay race during the upcoming sports festival. After school, Akira brings it up while they're walking home together, and he says that he heard she'll be part of Yajima's relay team. When Mikoto confirms it, Akira admits he thinks it's pretty impressive since Yajima once won a city championship. Mikoto casually mentions that Yajima also tried to recruit her for the track club. Surprised, Akira asks if she's thinking about joining, but Mikoto reminds him that if she joined the club, she'd have to stay after school for practice, and they wouldn't be able to walk home together anymore. Overwhelmed by affection, Akira instinctively tries to hug her, but Mikoto quickly dodges him and warns him once again not to try to progress the plot without her permission. The next day, Mikoto trains for the relay race during lunch break, and Oka arrives carrying a drink for her and asks why she looks tired lately. Mikoto explains that she chose to practice during lunch instead of staying late after school. Oka gives her a suspicious look and says Yajima mentioned that with proper training, Mikoto could even compete at the national level. Instead of chasing that opportunity, Oka jokes that Mikoto is keeping her two beautiful legs just for her baby daddy, Akira. Mikoto immediately tells her to stop teasing, but Oka confidently says the real reason she won't join the track club is because of her boyfriend and how they can't walk home together if she chooses to join the club. Embarrassed by the comment, Mikoto quickly ends the conversation and goes back to practicing. While from a classroom window, Akira quietly watches her train and feels proud. However, that night, Akira starts feeling jealous, now knowing that with Makoto making new friends of her own, she's no longer just his. The next day at lunch, Oka feeds Mikoto more of her lunch, and she mentions that Akira caught a cold right before sports day. When Oka asks if Mikoto feels disappointed that he might miss her race, Mikoto bluntly says it's none of her concern. Instead, Mikoto reveals that she plans to visit Akira's house later that day. Oka grins and says she once visited Ueno when he was sick too. She then whispers the secret sauce she used to help him recover faster. That evening, Mikoto arrives at Akira's home, saying that she's here to deliver notes. His sister greets her and shows her to his room. Mikoto asks how he's feeling, and Akira admits he still feels terrible and jokes that he was hoping to watch her run during the relay race tomorrow. Mikoto responds by giving him their usual exchange of saliva, and the moment Akira tastes it, he suddenly sees a beautiful sunny day and feels that he is now healthy. Without saying much more, Mikoto quietly leaves, and Akira didn't know that during her visit, Mikoto was wearing a spicy outfit just for him after Oka gave her the secret sauce. Back then, during the time Ueno was sick, Oka offered him to ask for anything, and Ueno asked her to wear a swimsuit for him. She agreed and presented herself in her most playful form to him, but made it clear he could look but not touch, which made him healthy. Then, when sports day arrives, Akira shows up looking much healthier. Makoto thanks Oka, mentioning that her spicy method worked tremendously. Oka asks Mikoto if she did the exact same thing she did, but Mikoto explains that she simply wore it under her coat. Oka asks why she didn't show it to him, and when Mikoto refuses to say, Oka tastes Mikoto's saliva to confirm something and realizes Mikoto was simply too shy to show it directly. Just then, the relay race is about to start. Oka enthusiastically encourages Mikoto, telling her to make good use of the strong legs she usually uses to wrap around Akira. Then, as the race begins, Akira watches nervously. Some nearby boys start talking about how they want to get squished by Mikoto's thighs, which angers him. But before he can react, Oka starts loudly cheering for Mikoto. Then, when Mikoto finally receives the baton, she sprints ahead to catch up with the first place. Being neck and neck, she needs a little boost, and it comes in the form of Akira screaming her name, pushing her to her limit, and securing first place for her team as she reaches the finish line. Surrounded by classmates congratulating her, Mikoto thanks everyone. Yajima approaches again and once more invites her to join the track club, and this time Mikoto actually considers it, though she still hesitates. After school, Akira rushes to his locker and notices that his name tag has been ripped off. Confused, he shrugs it off and later meets Mikoto. To her surprise, Akira encourages her to join the track club. Mikoto asks why the sudden change of heart, and Akira admits that at first he liked the idea of her refusing the invitation for his sake. But after seeing her run in the relay race, he realized she has real talent. Mikoto listens quietly before giving him some of her saliva again. When she sees him instantly smiling, Mikoto tells him she knows he wasn't being completely honest. She then lifts her skirt slightly and reveals his missing name tag stuck to her leg, declaring that she knows how he wants to keep her and her juicy legs for himself, which he can't refuse. Some nights later, Akira has a wet fever dream, where Mikoto has lost her uniform and tells him to grab her melons. After waking up, the sensation from the dream feels so real that he keeps imagining how soft it was. Not wanting to be Jizzy McGee on a Sunday morning, he rushes out of his room. But when he reaches the kitchen, his sister offers him some meat buns. However, Akira can barely focus on what she's saying because the meat buns look squeezable. So he quickly leaves the house. Trying to distract himself, Akira heads to a manga store. He opens a random book, hoping it will help him forget the dream. But the book presents to him the devil's twin puppies, so he quickly exits the store. Not knowing where else to go, he walks toward the bridge where he often meets Mikoto. While standing there, he looks at the road she usually takes when heading home and wonders where she actually lives. Without thinking much, he starts wandering along the path. Eventually, he arrives near an apartment complex, and the thought crosses his mind that Mikoto might live somewhere around there. Just as he considers leaving, Mikoto suddenly rides up on her bicycle. Seeing him there surprises her, and she asks why he's standing in front of where she lives. Akira is shocked to learn that this is really where she lives. Embarrassed, he claims he was just wandering around the neighborhood and happened to end up here by coincidence. He prepares to leave, but Mikoto casually invites him inside for tea, since he's already there. Once they enter, Mikoto removes her jacket, revealing a warm sweater underneath, and the outline of her plots makes him want to run to the toilet and shoot one out. Trying to stay calm, he sits down while Mikoto goes to the kitchen to prepare tea. Left alone, Akira tries to steady himself, but his eyes soon wander toward Mikoto's bed. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he leans closer to smell it so he can remember the smell of her sleep sweat. But Mikoto returns at that exact moment and catches him. When she asks what he's doing, Akira quickly lies and yaps his way out of it. Then, they sit together drinking tea, and Mikoto asks if there was something he wanted to tell her earlier. Akira denies it, but he wonders if being alone with her is the anime gods clutching up for him to crack her cheeks. He gets closer to kiss her, but fear stops him, knowing that Mikoto might seriously hurt him if he crosses a line. As evening arrives, dark clouds gather, and rain begins outside. Mikoto stands up to turn on the lights, but suddenly, thunder crashes loudly, startling her and causing her to fall toward Akira, but he instinctively catches her. It ends with him in a perfect position to feel her melons, and the temptation crosses his mind. But Mikoto immediately grabs her scissors and threatens him before he can do anything. Flustered, Akira finally confesses that he had a dream about touching her melons, and that he hasn't been able to stop thinking about it. Mikoto calmly asks him what it felt like in the dream, and while he describes the pudding-like sensation, she goes and experiences it herself, then gives him some of her usual saliva for him to taste so he can remember the feeling. It makes Akira blush and even cry out of joy at how good the saliva tastes. But then Mikoto kneels in front of him and tells him he can touch her melons if he wants, completely shocking him. At first, he begins talking about how they shouldn't rush it and that they need to have their feelings in check, but Mikoto interrupts and tells him the offer will disappear if he doesn't act before she counts to 3. The moment she starts counting, Akira quickly grabs one melon, and in the heat of the moment, he leans over her and pushes her down. Mikoto tries to grab her scissors again, but before she can, Akira moves toward her ear and starts licking it, causing her to almost squeal with happy noises and scream out her joy. Seeing her lips, Akira almost goes in for a kiss. However, he suddenly notices tears forming in her eyes, and the realization immediately snaps him back to reality. Horrified by what he almost did, Akira pulls away and asks if she's angry. Mikoto says she isn't, but he still feels terrible. Overwhelmed with guilt, he apologizes and runs out of the apartment into the rain. The next day, during school break, Mikoto has lunch as usual with Oka, and she repays the favor by giving Oka her drool. After tasting it, Oka suddenly blushes and feels a strange excitement she has never experienced before, even with her boyfriend. Curious, Oka asks if something happened between Mikoto and Akira, and Mikoto admits that something did happen, though she doesn't explain the details. Hearing that, Oka assures her that it's completely normal for her body to change when she's in love. Mikoto asks Oka if she experienced anything similar, and Oka says that she did while dating Ueno. With that, Mikoto runs somewhere private, and when she touches her ear, the same one Akira licked, she starts tearing up. Meanwhile, Akira spends the entire school day feeling miserable and ashamed after what he did to Mikoto, so he later apologizes repeatedly for what happened the previous night. Mikoto calmly says she isn't angry and even offers him his usual saliva again. However, Akira refuses and instead asks her to slap him for making her cry. Mikoto warns him that her slap will hurt, but he insists, so she hits him hard across the face, leaving him bruised on the cheek. But then, she tells him to touch her ear, and when he does it gently, her legs tremble, and tears begin forming in her eyes again. She explains that ever since he touched her ear the night before, her body reacts strongly whenever it's touched there. Akira apologizes again, but Mikoto tells him not to worry about it. She then tastes his saliva, which causes her to get the same bruise he has, saying that she wants to feel his pain and that he shouldn't feel guilty for what he did. However, Akira tells her she shouldn't do that because he never wants to see her hurt or the face he loves tainted with a bruise. Without saying anything else, Mikoto gives him some of her saliva, making him blush, and she quickly runs away, trying to hide the emotions building up inside her. The following day, Mikoto shows up to class with a horrible case of bad hair, and Akira notices right away and silently wonders what happened to it overnight. Later, Oka walks over and offers to help style Mikoto's hair. She brings her to the changing room and tries out a new hairstyle for her, one that shows off her face. Oka suggests that she wear this new style for a day, and after some insistence, Mikoto agrees. In class, everyone is surprised by the transformation. With her hair neatly styled, her face is fully visible, and she looks completely different. With that, the Simpson class begin talking about how good she looks, and hearing them compliment her makes Akira strangely jealous. Later, when he and Mikoto walk home together, he asks if she plans to wear the same hairstyle again tomorrow. Mikoto replies that it depends on whether Oka styles it for her again, and Akira bluntly says that he would actually prefer that she return to her usual messy hairstyle. She asks him why, and Akira doesn't answer directly, as in his mind, he reasons that he rarely gets to see her face clearly, even though he's the one dating her, and it feels unfair that everyone else suddenly gets the same view so easily. Without warning, Mikoto drops her bag, removes her hair ties, and tells Akira to mess up her hair again. Confused but obedient, he runs his hands through it until it's messy like before. Satisfied, she tells him she'll only style it again if he really wants her to. Then she casually walks away, leaving Akira standing there stunned. The next day, during break, Oka excitedly approaches Mikoto again, ready to try another hairstyle, but this time, Mikoto refuses. Oka insists she has new ideas like the Goku hairstyle or the chopped forehead of Vegeta, but Mikoto firmly declines, and Oka immediately suspects Akira had something to do with it. Then, Oka suddenly tastes some of Mikoto's usual saliva out of curiosity, and it instantly makes her blush. Confused by the strange feeling, she asks if something happened between Mikoto and Akira. Mikoto calmly replies that nothing major happened, but says that Akira did something that made her feel really good. When Oka asks what it was, Mikoto simply stands up and messes up her hair instead of explaining. Not understanding what it means after school, Oka asks Ueno to mess up her hair too, just to see what happens. The result makes her blush immediately, and she realizes that getting her hair messed up by someone she loves is truly wonderful. The next day, during break, one of the classmates starts selling photos he secretly took of Mikoto when her hair was styled earlier. Many of the boys quickly gather around to look at them, and when Akira sees what is happening, he is furious, watching everyone admire the face of his future baby mama. The student selling the photos even asks Akira if he wants to buy one, and Akira refuses immediately, even though part of him actually wants a copy. While the group keeps looking at the pictures, someone suddenly comments that Mikoto looks a lot like a popular idol named Moka, who recently became famous online. Akira is curious about the comparison, so after school, he heads to a bookstore instead of going straight home. He then finds Moka's photo book, and to his surprise, the idol really does resemble Mikoto. After staring at it for a moment, he decides to buy the book, but Ueno happens to walk into the store at the same time and sees Akira holding it. Embarrassed, Akira makes a quick excuse and rushes out. Back at home, he immediately flips through the photo book again, and for the whole night, he uses it for his midnight gooning session. Meanwhile, the next day on the way home, Ueno tells Oka about the situation with the photos being sold at school. She asks if he bought one, but Ueno proudly says he didn't since he only has eyes for her. He also mentions that Akira didn't buy the photos either, but he did see him purchasing Momaka Imai's photo book, which Oka finds interesting. The following day, she goes up to Mikoto and studies her face closely to confirm the resemblance, while Mikoto has no idea who Momoka Imai even is. Oka explains that she's a famous idol who looks almost exactly like her and mentions that Akira bought her photo book. Later that day, after giving Akira her Drool, Mikoto calls Akira and she asks him directly if he really bought the photo book. Akira admits that he did, but quickly explains that he only became interested because the idol reminded him of her. Hearing that, Mikoto tells him to bring the photo book to the park. Then when they meet, Akira nervously shows it to her, and Mikoto flips through the pages and asks him to point out his favorite picture. As soon as he does, she calmly takes her scissors and cuts the page into pieces, while Akira can only stare in shock. Mikoto then declares that he already has her as his girlfriend, so he doesn't need to stare at some slut of an idol who has plastic surgery. Then, she walks away, and while watching her leave, Akira realizes that he's not the only one who gets easily jealous. A few days later, Akira ends up back at the bookstore again and buys another set of limited edition photos of the idol Momoka Imai. In his mind, he convinces himself that Mikoto just doesn't understand that he only looks at the idol because she resembles her. Feeling satisfied with his purchase, Akira walks outside, but as soon as he leaves the store, a short-haired girl greets him. At first, he doesn't recognize her at all, but she soon reveals that she's Hayakawa. Her new hairstyle surprises him so much that he blushes a little, and the two start walking together while catching up. Hayakawa asks how everyone from their old school is doing since she transferred, and Akira tells her that everyone is fine and mentions that Ueno even has a girlfriend now. Hayakawa looks surprised and asks what she's like. Akira jokingly describes her as a short midget with insane proportions. Then, she asks Akira if he has a girlfriend, and for a moment, he thinks about Mikoto, but instead, he awkwardly claims that he's still single. Hearing this, Hayakawa admits she assumed he must have found someone who made him forget about her, and Akira freezes when he hears that and asks what she means. Hayakawa calmly explains that she always knew he liked her back in school, seeing how for 3 years he constantly stared at the back of her head during class. Embarrassed, Akira asks how she figured it out, and she reveals that her pencil case had a small mirror inside it, so she could see him watching her the entire time. After sharing that story, Hayakawa teasingly asks if he ever wanted to touch her hair, and seeing him struggle to respond, she laughs and apologizes for tempting him. She then mentions that she recently broke up with her boyfriend, so hearing that someone once liked her actually made her feel a little better. Encouraged by this, Akira starts talking about how big his crush used to be. He even remembers a time when one of her hairs got stuck on a chair, and he secretly took it home for him to use as part of his fun time activity. Halfway through the story, he suddenly realizes how creepy that sounds and apologizes quickly. Surprisingly, Hayakawa doesn't seem bothered and admits she once kept something similar from a boy she liked. They sit together for a while, and Akira says her ex must be foolish for letting someone like her go, and hearing that suddenly makes Hayakawa start crying. With tears running down her face, she asks if it would be okay if they kept meeting like this from time to time, but all he can focus on is the saliva drooling from her face. And without thinking, Akira blurts out that he'd agree if she let him taste her saliva. The moment the words leave his mouth, he regrets it and quickly apologizes, but Hayakawa licks her fingers and offers him to drink it. Losing to temptation, Akira slowly leans closer, but as he's about to drink her saliva, Mikoto's words suddenly echo in his mind, telling him how her saliva is proof of the special bond between them. That thought makes him stop immediately, and he tears up as he realizes that doing this with someone else would betray the bond he has with Mikoto. Akira pulls back and apologizes repeatedly, saying he let his impulses get ahead of him. Hayakawa sighs and says she knew he probably had a girlfriend after all. In the end, Akira admits the truth that he does have a girlfriend, but since he once liked Hayakawa for so long, he got carried away during their conversation. Curious, Hayakawa asks if he's ever tasted his girlfriend's saliva, and when he admits that he has, she jokingly says hers might be even sweeter. Even so, Akira refuses. He apologizes again and explains that his girlfriend matters too much to him. Before leaving, Hayakawa asks for the name of the girl he's dating, and Akira tells her that her name is Miko too. Later at home, Hayakawa reflects on their conversation and thinks that if they were still in their old school, Akira probably wouldn't have refused her, and that makes her want to claim Akira even more, despite him already dating someone. The next day, Mikoto gets approached by Hayakawa, and she introduces herself, but Mikoto already knows who she is. Then, Hayakawa casually invites her to visit their school's cultural festival on Sunday and hands her a small booklet about the event before leaving, saying that Akira will be there as well. That same night, Hayakawa calls Akira and asks him to meet her. When they meet, she shows him a bruise and explains that her ex-boyfriend wants to get back together, but when she rejected him, he reacted badly. Upset on her behalf, Akira listens as she asks for a favor that she wants him to pretend to be her boyfriend during the festival so her ex will finally leave her alone. Despite feeling unsure about it, Akira eventually agrees to help. Hayakawa thanks him and leaves happily, but once she's out of sight, she casually wipes away the bruise, revealing that it was fake. The following day, Mikoto shares her usual saliva with Akira and asks if he has any plans for Sunday. Nervous, he lies and says he'll be hanging out with Ueno, and Mikoto quietly accepts the answer. However, later, Mikoto has lunch with Oka, who mentions that she's going to a cultural festival with Ueno. Mikoto is immediately confused since Akira said he would be with him that day, but Oka quickly confirms that Ueno definitely promised to go with her. When Sunday arrives, Akira nervously enters the girls' academy where the festival is taking place, and he still feels guilty about lying to Mikoto. Looking at the event booklet, he realizes the festival has a costume theme, and right then, Hayakawa appears in front of him, dressed exactly like she used to look back in their old school, wearing a wig and her former uniform. Smiling, Hayakawa explains that she thought it would be fun to recreate her old appearance. Then she grabs Akira's hand and pulls him into the festival with her. Then, while walking through the festival, Hayakawa tightly holds onto Akira's arm. Feeling awkward, he politely asks her not to cling to him so much, but Hayakawa quickly responds that if she doesn't act like he's cracking her good, her ex-boyfriend won't believe that they're really dating. Elsewhere at the festival, Ueno and Oka are exploring the different attractions. Oka excitedly says she wants to check out the maid cafe, so Ueno excuses himself for a moment to use the restroom. When he returns, he is shocked to see Oka dressed as one of the maids. For a moment, he enjoys the unusual sight, but when a couple of guys ask to take pictures with her, his mood instantly turns sour. Annoyed and jealous, Ueno storms off, leaving Oka behind. While wandering alone, Oka suddenly spots Akira walking around with a girl who definitely isn't Mikoto. Meanwhile, Hayakawa leads Akira into an empty classroom, and being confused, he asks why they came there. Hayakawa smiles and asks if being alone in a classroom with her reminds him of the days when they worked together on student council activities. Outside the door, Oka quietly approaches and overhears them talking about their shared past. Inside the room, Hayakawa asks Akira if he ever wanted to hug her back then, and Akira admits that he did, but never had the courage. Hayakawa tells Akira that now he finally has the chance to hug her if he wants, but Akira immediately refuses. She keeps pushing the idea, asking if it's because of his girlfriend and whether his feelings for her back then disappeared just because someone new came along. Hayakawa then takes his hand and brings it closer to her face, suggesting that if he dated her instead, she might even grow her hair long again like before. Seeing this dirty wench in action, Akira panics and reminds her that he already has a girlfriend, but then, Hayakawa licks her finger and playfully tells him to taste it. Outside, Oka is about to step in, but someone in a robot costume stops her from interrupting. She suddenly notices the familiar eyes of Mikoto inside the costume, and realizes that Mikoto has been watching everything. Back inside the room, Akira firmly refuses Hayakawa's offer, and she warns him that he might regret turning a hot pair of cheeks like hers down. Right then, Mikoto suddenly walks into the classroom, and Akira is completely shocked to see her there. Mikoto calmly says that instead of running away from the situation, they should simply let Akira decide what he really wants. She then blindfolds him and explains that Akira simply has to identify whose saliva he's tasting. Hayakawa agrees to the idea, and after deciding who goes first, Mikoto steps forward. The moment Akira tastes it, he immediately recognizes it as Mikoto's, and the reaction is so strong that his nose starts bleeding and his pickle starts leaking. Mikoto then removes her robot disguise and tells Hayakawa that this is the bond she shares with Akira, and even without seeing her, he could tell it was her. She then challenges Hayakawa to see if she can get the same reaction from him, but when she does it, she starts tearing up and pulls herself back. Mikoto quietly tells her that she doesn't need to prove anything and that if there really were a bond, Akira would already know. Hearing this, Hayakawa struggles to speak. Akira steps in and suggests they should all calm down. He gently tells Hayakawa that she recently went through a breakup, so her emotions are probably all over the place. Then, Hayakawa finally admits that whenever she likes someone, that person always seemed to like someone else instead, and even her ex-boyfriend was still hung up on another girl. Feeling desperate, she asks Akira one last time if he truly doesn't like her anymore, and Akira answers honestly, saying that back then, he was happy when she asked him to help at the festival, but now things are different, as his heart now belongs to Mikoto. Before he can continue, Mikoto suddenly interrupts him and tastes Hayakawa's saliva herself, surprising everyone. She says that it actually tastes sweet and tells Hayakawa that one day she'll meet someone who truly returns her feelings. Meanwhile, Akira starts wondering what Hayakawa's saliva tasted like, but quickly pushes the thought away. At that moment, his blindfold slips off, and he accidentally sees the condition both girls are in. Right then, Oka bursts into the classroom and immediately points out that Akira can see everything, ending in him getting slapped. While he lies on the floor recovering, Oka scolds Mikoto and Hayakawa for letting things get so ridiculous over one clueless guy, but Hayakawa finally laughs at the absurd situation. She admits she was feeling lost after her breakup, and acting recklessly helped distract her from the pain. She also tells Mikoto that seeing the strange bond between her and Akira made her a little jealous. Later that day, Akira nervously asks Mikoto if she's angry with him, and Mikoto calmly asks why she would be. Akira admits it's because he secretly met Hayakawa without telling her. Mikoto replies that she once had a crush, and if that person ever asked to meet her again, she might have gone as well, and probably kept it a secret. Then, she suddenly sticks out her tongue and admits she was joking, but adds that if the idea of her doing that made him uncomfortable, then he shouldn't do the same thing to her. Hearing that, Akira sincerely apologizes, and he realizes that sneaking around to meet another girl behind his girlfriend's back really was a pretty dumb move. A few days later, Oka approaches Mikoto and asks if she can teach her the famous scissors technique she always uses, but Mikoto refuses immediately, which leaves Oka disappointed. Changing the topic, Oka brings up Akira, and she jokes that since he accidentally saw Mikoto in all of her glory during the festival incident, that image is probably stuck in his head forever. But Mikoto pretends it doesn't bother her. Then, Oka suddenly reveals that she secretly took a photo of Mikoto that day, and Mikoto quickly tries to grab it, but Oka refuses to hand it over. But before Oka can react, Mikoto pulls out her scissors and performs her signature move, slicing the photo into pieces instantly. Later that afternoon, Akira and Mikoto walk home together like usual, and unfortunately for Akira's jerk-loving brain, he can't stop remembering what he saw that day at the festival, and struggles to act normally while walking beside her. Mikoto suddenly stops and gives him her usual daily saliva. Then, she asks for some of his in return, but Akira refuses, saying he's not feeling well. While he's distracted, Mikoto tricks him and manages to take some anyway. And the moment she tastes it, her heart suddenly starts racing. Confused by the sudden feeling, she asks why her heart is beating so fast, but Akira panics and runs away without answering. Later, when Mikoto gets home, she realizes her heart is still pounding, and she remembers what Oka said earlier about him still remembering her plots. The next day at school, Akira seems completely distracted in class because of a strange effect from Mikoto's saliva. He keeps imagining her without clothes whenever he looks at her. After school, when they separate for the day, Mikoto gives him his usual saliva again, and the effect immediately returns. Overwhelmed, Akira suddenly hugs her, but Mikoto quickly pushes him away and swings her scissors, accidentally cutting his handkerchief into pieces. But then she notices that his forehead is bleeding, and realizing that she accidentally injured him, she immediately apologizes and tells him to come to her house so she can treat the wound. Once they arrive, Mikoto goes inside to get a first aid kit. While searching for it, she notices a photo frame on the table. Without thinking, she cuts it in half with her scissors. Only then does she realize she accidentally sliced part of the curtain as well. Meanwhile, Akira waits in her room, and just like before, he notices her bed and leans over to smell her pillow again, but this time, he notices the pillow is damp. Then, Mikoto returns with a first aid kit and begins treating his wound. Akira comments that she usually never misses her target when using scissors and asks if something is wrong. She explains that she had a strange dream the night before. Akira mentions that her pillow was wet and wonders if it's related to that dream, and the question instantly makes Mikoto embarrassed. Trying to change the subject, Mikoto gives him some saliva again, and as soon as Akira tastes it, his vision becomes blurry, and he starts seeing the same strange images again. Afraid he might lose control and hug her again, he quickly stands up to leave. Mikoto tries to stop him, but he accidentally pushes her onto the bed. Feeling guilty, he rushes forward to apologize. However, he steps on the first aid kit and slips. As he falls toward her, he suddenly panics, remembering her scissors. Afraid of getting injured again, he twists his body away mid-fall and ends up hitting his head on the bed frame instead, worrying Mikoto even more. Akira explains that he didn't want to land on top of her again, and hearing that makes Mikoto feel terrible. She gently pushes his face into her twin puppies, and tells him it would have been better if he had simply hugged her instead of hurting himself. Later, after finishing the bandages, Akira asks about her dream again, but Mikoto refuses to answer, and quickly shuts the door after he leaves. Back inside, she tests her scissors again by aiming at another photo frame, and this time she cuts it perfectly without touching the curtains. She realizes her aim is back to normal, and suspects the earlier hug might have helped. That night, Akira dreams of chasing Mikoto in her bunny suit, and sees her smashing mochi that turns into mini Mikotos, who gather and smother Akira in their mochis. Later, at school, Akira notices that Ueno also has a bandage on his face, and asks his homie what happened. Ueno explains that Oka was practicing with scissors and accidentally threw them straight at him. While they're talking, a girl named Suano appears and tells Akira that a teacher wants to see him. She notices his bandage slipping off and replaces it with a new one. From her desk, Mikoto watches the scene and becomes slightly jealous as Suano leads Akira away. While walking down the hallway, Akira worries that Mikoto might misunderstand the situation and asks Suano to give him his original bandage back. Later, after school, Akira meets Mikoto again, and she notices that he's wearing the same bandage she gave him earlier. Akira awkwardly explains that he felt like hers would help the wound heal faster. Mikoto then gives him their usual daily saliva, and as he tastes it, Akira suddenly hugs her again out of habit. Embarrassed, he quickly apologizes, but this time, Mikoto calmly says she actually wanted him to hug her before leaving. Hearing that makes Akira incredibly happy, because it finally feels like he's getting closer to her heart. A few days later, Akira comes home and finds his sister Yuko sleeping and drooling slightly in her sleep, and the sight oddly makes him blush. When she suddenly wakes up, Akira nervously asks if she has a boyfriend. Yuko immediately finds the question strange and calls him weird before leaving the room. Some days later, Mikoto is out shopping when she unexpectedly runs into Yuko, and she politely greets her before leaving. But as she's walking away, Yuko invites her to have lunch together at a nearby cafe. While they sit and talk, Yuko suddenly grabs Mikoto's school uniform and comments that it feels exactly like the one she used to wear. When Mikoto asks what she means, Yuko reveals that she attended the same school 6 years earlier. She explains that seeing Mikoto in that uniform made her feel nostalgic about her own school days, which is why she suddenly invited her out. After a while, Yuko asks if Akira has a girlfriend or someone he likes, and Mikoto blushes slightly and says she isn't sure. Then she asks Yuko if she ever dated someone back when she was in school. Yuko admits she once had a boyfriend from her class, and then brings up how Akira recently saw her drooling in her sleep and asked about her relationship status. Yuko recalls how her old boyfriend once took a picture of her sleeping and drooling during their school days. Feeling embarrassed, she apologizes for talking so much about the past, but Mikoto gently asks what happened to that relationship. Yuko explains that after they went to university, they slowly drifted apart. Even now, she sometimes wonders if he still has that old photo of her sleeping. Before they leave, Yuko asks Mikoto if she currently likes someone, and Mikoto admits that she does. Hearing that makes Yuko smile wistfully and say she wishes she could be that young again. As they part ways, Yuko gives Mikoto some mochi, saying everyone in their family loves it. The next day, Akira and his family visit their mother's grave, and Yuko tells Akira to clean the gravestone before they pray together. Afterward, Yuko casually says that until Akira gets a proper job, she plans to take care of him as a parent would. Akira is surprised and asks if that means she won't think about marriage until then, and when Yuko confirms it, he feels guilty. Their father joins the conversation and suggests that Yuko should focus on her own future as well. But Yuko jokes that neither of them can even manage basic household tasks properly, so someone has to keep things running. Days later, after school, Mikoto tells Akira that she ran into Yuko while shopping, and she mentions that Yuko once had a boyfriend. Akira is surprised to hear that, since he didn't know about it. When he asks if they're still together, Mikoto explains that they broke up after graduation. A little while later, Mikoto asks Akira if he likes mochi, and he says that he doesn't care much for it, though his late mother used to love it. When Mikoto asks about her, Akira explains that his mother passed away when he was still a baby, and because of that, he doesn't really have memories of her and doesn't feel the same sadness that others might. After their usual saliva smoothie session, Mikoto suddenly says she wants to visit his mother's grave with him next Sunday. Then, the day arrives. Akira leaves the house and tells Yuko that if she ever meets someone she likes again, she shouldn't hold back because of him or their father. On the way to meet Mikoto, he realizes that since they're both wearing casual clothes instead of school uniforms, it almost feels like they're going on a real date. Then, Mikoto arrives wearing a cute dress and carrying flowers, explaining that she brought them for his mother. They take the bus together to the cemetery, and along the way, Akira wonders why she dressed up so nicely. When they arrive, Mikoto explains that she normally doesn't put much effort into outfits, but since she was meeting her boyfriend's mother, she wanted to look respectful, which genuinely touches Akira. Then, at her grave, Mikoto asks what Akira's mother was like, and he admits he doesn't know much and says that Yuko was basically the one who raised him. Mikoto then asks him to place his hand on the gravestone, and after he does, she asks him to share saliva with her. Akira quietly follows her request, and the moment feels more meaningful than their usual degenerate exchange. When he opens his eyes again, he notices Mikoto crying and realizes that tears are running down his own face as well. Mikoto gently tells him that even if he doesn't remember it, he cried a lot when his mother died. She says the reason he grew up cheerful despite that loss is because of the love his father and sister gave him. Then, she adds that she wants to become someone who can also bring him happiness in the future, as they did. On their walk home, she tells him sweetly that they will be doing more things that lovers do, just in time when the sakura trees are blooming. If you watch this anime recap until the end, comment down below Drool Drinker. And if you love anime recaps like this, watch this video.